Hello and good day. Welcome to our video channel, God's Promises. And today's video will be a concise overview, Book of Judges, Chapter 1. Let's get started now. Judges Chapter 1 from the Bible. This chapter is an important part of the Old Testament, which tells the story of Israel's conquest of the Promised Land. The Book of Judges focuses on the period after Joshua's death when the Israelites were governed by a series of judges. In Judges chapter 1, we see the beginning of the Israelites' efforts to take over the land that God had promised them. The chapter begins with the tribe of Judah taking the lead in the conquest. They ask their brother Simeon to join them, and together they defeat the Canaanites and Perizzites in the city of Bezek. They capture Adoni-Bezek, the king of Bezek, and cut off his thumbs and big toes. Adoni-Bezek confesses that he had done the same thing to 70 other kings he had conquered, and he acknowledges that this is the justice of God. This gruesome act is a reminder that God's judgment is swift and severe, and those who go against his will suffer the consequences. After the victory in Bezek, Judah and Simeon continue their conquest, and we see that God is with them. They capture several cities, including Jerusalem, but they failed to drive out all the inhabitants of the land. This failure will come back to haunt them later in the book of Judges. The rest of the chapter describes the other tribes' efforts to take over their allotted territories. Unfortunately, they also failed to completely drive out the Canaanites, and the chapter ends on a somewhat depressing note, with the Israelites living among the conquered peoples rather than fully possessing the land as God had commanded. The story of Judges chapter 1 is a reminder that obedience to God's commands is essential for his blessings. The Israelites were commanded to drive out the Canaanites completely, but they failed to do so. This disobedience had serious consequences for them in the future. In our lives, we also need to obey God's commands if we want to experience his blessings. We cannot pick and choose which commands we will follow. We must strive to obey them all. Furthermore, Judges chapter 1 teaches us that God is just and will not allow sin to go unpunished. Adoni-Bezek suffered the same fate that he had inflicted on others, and his confession shows that he understood that he was facing the consequences of his actions. We too will face the consequences of our actions, whether good or bad, in this life or the next. We must be mindful of our choices and strive to do what is right. Finally, the story of Judges chapter 1 shows us that God's plan for our lives may not always be easy or straightforward. The Israelites faced many challenges as they attempted to take over the promised land, but God was with them through it all. In the same way, we may face difficult circumstances in our lives, but we can trust that God has a plan and that he will be with us every step of the way. In conclusion, Judges chapter 1 is a powerful reminder of the importance of obedience to God's commands, the consequences of sin, and the trust we can have in God's plan for our lives. As we go about our day-to-day lives, let us keep these teachings in mind and strive to live in a way that honors God. Thank you for visiting us today. Please share with us your favorite Bible chapter below in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help our channel grow. Looking forward to see you back here for our next video.